Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are at game number 2 between DDE and WhiteRa, and finally DDE with a proper name. I was tired of looking at meaty owl legs, and several times I almost referred to him as such. So yes, game number 2 here in the series between WhiteRa and DDE. We do have DDE spawning down here in the low left-hand position of Xel'Naga Caverns, and then up over here in the upper right is WhiteRa, our yellow Protoss player. So WhiteRa ending up winning the first game. You know, he opened up with some very strong Zealot Bomb economy damage against DDE, and that was a situation where DDE struggled to recover from. However, we did see some excellent counter aggression from DDE, managing to snipe a few of WhiteRa's Nexi, and as a result, I almost said Nexuses. Is it Nexuses or Nexi? I believe it's Nexi. He managed to snipe a few of WhiteRa's Nexi, one in the in-base natural, and then I believe there were 2 at the outside that third expansion of WhiteRa that they managed to take out. Unfortunately, though, the economic damage that WhiteRa did from that Zealot bombing, plus with some excellent engagements as well with Colossus, nice force field, Zealot placement, everything like that, WhiteRa just managed to muscle through even after DDE took out a few of his expansions. So very nice play there by WhiteRa, and that last engagement was fairly one-sided as WhiteRa pushed out with everything that he had. But again, here we are at game number 2. We do have WhiteRa dropping down that gateway and then moving out with the scouting probe. He will be heading straight, of course, towards DDE's bases. He knows precisely where he is. By the time he gets this, we can see that he didn't move out after 9 pylon, given that he knows where his opponent is, doesn't really need to do that. He got a little bit extra econ and then moved out after his gateway. But as a result, he's actually not going to be able to get much harass down at all against the building SCV here of DDE. Normally, if you can get into the base of your opponent after that 9 pylon, you've got ample time to try to do some SCV harass. However, as we can see, the SCV has finished completion of that barracks, and now that first Marine is coming out, and as soon as that does come out, the probe will be forced to leave right now, and actually we'll be trying to get a few shots off. WhiteRa just losing everything but his shields and then pulling back right now. Here comes that first Marine. DDE trying to slow up WhiteRa and actually doing everything he can to try to take out that worker. Marine coming down. That will force WhiteRa to pull back right now. We do have a tech lab coming out on the barracks here for DDE. Marine moving across the map. I'm surprised that he's not keeping him back home to try to deny secondary scouting, because WhiteRa is liable to push back with the scout at some point soon to try to get an initial scout down. Now we do have the SCV scout for DDE moving outside, moving in WhiteRa's base and dancing all about here. Zealot's just finished right now. Cybernetics core is finished as well. Here comes the Stalker. That is what is expected right now from WhiteRa. Where is it, sir? Where is it indeed? Oh, he needs more minerals. Doesn't quite have the resources necessary. And there we go, finally. Stalker coming on out for WhiteRa. And once that is finished right now, the SCV will be in trouble. And actually, WhiteRa chasing around this SCV. It's been war of the workers early on in this game. We'd have the Zealot. We'll be able to get actually 2 shots with some micro. No! DDE managed to sneak right through, preventing the Zealot from getting his second shot there and making away with just enough health. He will be heading back home and continuing up his mining. We do have DDE coming out with an expo, so he will be going Marauder heavy early on out of this 1 Rax straight into that expansion. But what about WhiteRa? What about WhiteRa? We do have 2 gateways and a Twilight Council, so WhiteRa not expanding immediately. He will be going for some sort of aggressive play early on. Will it be fast DT? That is certainly quite possible. He could also be attempting to go for some Blink Stalker action early on. All things are a likelihood. Here's that first Stalker moving across the map, and he's going to be trying to get some scouting done. However, with the Marauder heavy force that we are seeing from DDE, right now sitting with a total of 2 Marauders plus that one Marine there, that's going to force WhiteRa back actually, and almost be able to take out that SCV. He will be trying to chase down him right now, and the Marine and 2 Marauders will be attempting to assist, but no, the SCV gets taken out, and WhiteRa subsequently heading back home. And there it is, the Dark Shrine for WhiteRa. WhiteRa going crazy fast. Dark Templar. Here comes the Robotics as well, so 2-gate Dark Templar plus that Robotics. Very interesting opening here from WhiteRa. He will, of course, be attempting to take DDE by surprise. Now, so long as DDE doesn't scout this out, WhiteRa could do an excellent job here and tremendous amounts of damage. You can see we have got no cloak detection, but do keep in mind as well, DDE with the second orbital command will have the option of laying down lots of scans, so that's going to be a major concern, certainly for WhiteRa. As you can see, looking at DDE vision, he hasn't scouted out that Dark Shrine coming on through. I was worried that he may have dropped a scan and I may have missed it. And actually, WhiteRa will be coming out with an expansion as well right now. So getting ready to push out with those DT to do some damage, having that Robo for that utility, plus the cloak detection. And DDE will actually be scouting out this expansion right now, moving from the back corridor over here, allowing him to scout out that Expo, and he will attempt to actually continue to push on through. However, WhiteRa's forces should be able to deny any additional scouting. Does the SCV make it in? Yes, he does. Let's see if he scouts that Dark Shrine. This could actually be really bad for WhiteRa, and he sees it. Right now, DDE sees that Dark Shrine, so what is he going to do immediately? He will start saving up energy. I don't expect him to drop a mule right now. He needs to try to save up, and there we go, Engineering Bay as well, allowing that missile turret to come on through. WhiteRa not really having the chance to do any damage here. Ample energy to scan out of both of those orbital commands, well, just this one, I suppose, but enough energy to scan, and that's going to allow him to deal with this DT without issue. And then, as we can see, also coming out with that missile turret. So very unfortunate situation for WhiteRa. It's all because of that sneaky SCV making its way into the main. If WhiteRa could have denied that scouting, then he may have been actually able to take DDE by surprise. Couple of kills there. I wonder how many kills he got. Wow. Overall, killing 5 units so far. WhiteRa managed to get a few kills there of Marines with that DT, even though it was scouted out. And look at this. We've got 2 DT moving right into the main right now, completely bypassing the turret at the front. DD should have enough energy to be able to scan some more. There we go. 1 scan going down. Lots of damage to that tank, though. Very low. WhiteRa also doing some economic damage here. So far, killing off 4 SCVs. There is number 5. He's going to kill off a few Marines as well before that next scan goes down. Here we go. More SCVs being target fired down. 9 kills so far. How many more? He's going to get that tank for number 10. More SCV kills. No, the turret finishes, but 10 kills for that Dark Templar. WhiteRa still has that War Prism right here. Hopefully he pulls that back. WhiteRa, please pay attention. No, going to be losing it. He's going to be losing both of them, the Dark Templar and the War Prism. Another DT will be making it down to this expansion. However, that turret will prevent him from doing any damage at all. Should be scouted out right now. So DT sees DDE sees that DT coming. I always mess up DDE's name. It's very hard to say. I need an actual word and not just 3 letters for me to say over and over again. Another Dark Templar moving across the map for WhiteRa. How about transitions? That's the major question. We do have Charge Zealots coming on through. That charge upgrade is coming out. A Dark Templar moving into the main right now. There's the DT at the expansions. Got 3 kills. That gets scanned and taken out. Now realize, yes, we are seeing WhiteRa do quite a bit of damage. He's killing off a few SCVs, but losing these Dark Templar, very costly. Dark Templar incredibly expensive. Still though, so many worker kills here for WhiteRa. Let's take a tally of it. 16 SCVs killed for WhiteRa. So again, just like we saw in that last game, lots of early economic damage from him. Certainly impressed by that. We do have another War Prism moving out across the map. A few more units getting warped in. Actually, there will be a couple of DT as well as a few Zealots. The charge upgrade isn't finished yet though, so DD's push could be pretty drastic. We have 1 Dark Templar forcing another scan, trying to get some damage off, forcing the Charge Zealots back right now, and there we go. We are going to see DD set up shop, and this is a tremendous opportunity for him. Another DT moving down. That scan dissipates, allowing him to get some damage. Is not enough though. Lots of splash damage. WhiteRa walking into that siege line, and WhiteRa maybe losing this expansion. He's got no counter harass going out right now. WhiteRa taking so much damage. We've got Immortals dropping though. 1 Immortal dropping. Zealots trying to take all those tanks. Very nice there by WhiteRa. He gets that tank as well. There's just 1 more tank for him to contend with. The charge upgrade is almost finished, and WhiteRa, unbelievably, manages to fend off this harass. I did not see that coming. I really thought WhiteRa was, well, pretty much boned there, in all honesty. He looked to be in a very difficult position, but very nice defense there by him. We saw him suicide a few Dark Templar, force the scan, but more importantly, get some crucial shots off on those tanks, and that allowed him, with the Immortal drop plus those Zealots, to actually be able to snipe down the rest of those tanks and push forward with the rest of his army. So very nice response there by WhiteRa. We do have a couple more Dark Templar getting warped in again. WhiteRa just continuing up this DT harass as much as possible, and he's actually got a good opportunity again to hit the main right now. If he did another War Prism drop over here, he could probably get off a few more SCV kills. But again, very impressive economic damage early on from WhiteRa. You can see they are actually about even, but if we take a look at the number of workers killed, 17 workers killed, 37 total units killed for WhiteRa, and this has forced DDE, instead of making army, to make more SCVs just to make up for what he had lost. So as you can see, WhiteRa is ahead in terms of army supply at the moment right now. We do have a Banshee moving across the map. That does spot that, and please, WhiteRa, don't walk right by the Banshee. He walks right by the Banshee. A little surprised that WhiteRa actually did that, and that is going to let DDE know that this is coming, and as a result, you can see DDE pushing down. So WhiteRa, unfortunately, walking a bit too close to that Banshee, and I'm very surprised that happened because he saw the Banshee with the pylon that the Banshee was attacking. He knew it was there, but still, a couple of Zealots being warped in here, and they're doing some more economic damage, and WhiteRa's Econ Harass has been nuts this game. Just fantastic work. Look at these Zealots go to town now. More Zealots being warped in as the Warp Prism sets up that pylon power, and the numbers continue to climb. 35 workers killed so far. DDE having a terribly difficult time dealing with the economy harass that WhiteRa has been presenting him with. We've got a few Stalkers right now. That'll be used to deal with this Banshee. Target firing it down, and there you go. And also that the Stalkers here will do very well against those Hellions there. Target firing down the Raven as well, and DDE looks to be on the ropes yet again. WhiteRa just with the constant aggression, the constant harass, and messing up DDE's economy so terribly. He is again in a really strong position. We've got a few more Dark Templar getting warped in now that the Raven has get taken out, and there is no more. There's just that one missile turret right there. The tank's gonna get taken out, and there it is. DDE calling the good game. All right, everyone, that concludes game number 2 here between WhiteRa and DDE, and once more, WhiteRa, constant aggression, constant economy harass, set DDE way too far behind and put him in a position where he really couldn't recover from. Fantastic work there from WhiteRa. That was game number 2. We will be moving on to game number 3 between these two players in just one moment. As always, guys, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.